Your avoidant ex will come back if you do these two things. Going through a relationship and a breakup with an avoidant will be one of the most challenging things you will experience. Usually because the way that avoidants exit relationships leaves you feeling anxious, abandoned, wanting more clarity, and feeling like you didn't get the recognition you deserved for trying so hard to make it work. So today I'm going to explain the two things you can do to reattract an avoidant ex. So the first thing you need to do to reattract an avoidant ex is to go no contact, especially if they pulled away abruptly and with a very little explanation. No contact is not a strategy to get your ex back. It is essentially a roadmap to detach, heal, and grow from that relationship and breakup. When an avoidant pulls away abruptly with very little explanation, they're likely feeling two things. One, they feel as though their independence in that relationship was lacking, and two, they feel as though their life would probably be a lot better off without you in it. I know it sounds really harsh to say, but they essentially feel that the value of their life is improved when they're single. So it's not necessarily you as a person that makes their life less valuable, it's that they value their independence so highly, and that relationship was probably suffocating them to the point where they felt like they had to pull away in order to just be their own person. Now, as a healing fearful avoidant, I can share with you some of the reasons why an avoidant will pull away abruptly. First, if you have an anxious attachment style, then it's highly possible that your avoidant ex felt you were leaning on them too heavily for support in that relationship. Now, I am not here saying that you do lean on them too heavily for emotional support in the relationship. I am just saying that it's possible your ex felt this way. And those are essentially two different things. It's one thing to actually do that, and it's one thing for the other person to perceive that you do that. There's a fundamental difference because the latter is entirely dependent on their threshold for dependence within a relationship. Secondly, and this is no judgment to anyone that's been dumped by an avoidant, honestly, I've been there myself, but chances are they viewed that their life would be better without you in it. Likely, there has been pressure felt by them in the relationship, and becoming single would make all of that go away instantly. It's not a healthy way to try and get your needs met and reclaim your own space within a relationship, but unfortunately, it's usually one of the most common tactics that avoidants will rely on in order to reclaim their own identity within that connection. For them, they sometimes see the only way to do that is by walking away entirely. And this is exactly why we go no contact with someone who breaks up with us so abruptly. It allows us to reclaim our space, to heal and grow so that we can feel like we are our own person outside of that connection. And you don't have all of that emotional noise keeping you tethered during that time because you're not indirectly or directly communicating with them. Which leads me into the second thing you should be doing during no contact in order to reattract them. During no contact, you should actually be working on yourself. You should be leveling up, and you should be trying to grow and heal in whatever way makes most sense to you. Now, I don't mean on day one after the breakup, you immediately go to the gym and try to get a revenge body. It's very good and healthy to go to the gym and work on yourself, but your motivations shouldn't be centered around revenge. It should be because you want to grow and heal for your own merits and not because you want to quote unquote win the breakup. Leveling up can also include repairing any negative traits or qualities you had during that last relationship. For example, if communication wasn't your strong suit, then learning strategies to become a better communicator within relationships is something perhaps you could focus on. You could also learn to become less defensive if that was an issue in relationships as well. Also, you can go to therapy and learn some of the other issues that have taken place during your relationships that you may simply just not be aware of. Maybe you had issues communicating your needs or wants within a relationship, or perhaps you just had issues establishing boundaries with your ex. Maybe you were actually just too sedentary, you played video games all the time, and you let yourself go. Whatever it is, it's really important that you dial in these so that you can really work on them as soon as possible. And whatever it is you ultimately decide to do, try to become the best you want to be at it. That doesn't mean you have to be the very best, it's just the best that you want to be for yourself. Essentially, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do it well and you feel good doing it. When you feel good doing something, you naturally become better at it, and then it becomes like a flywheel effect. During this time, you will become happier and others will pick up on that. You may make new friends, or you may reconnect with old hobbies. Chances are, if you've been sticking with no contact and your ex hasn't heard from you during this time, they will probably lurk and check up on you and be impressed. They'll also feel like they're kind of missing out and that they want to experience that with you. And ultimately, that's where they tend to regret the breakup and they decide to try and take action and reconcile things with you. It's at that moment when they suddenly view you as more valuable once again, and they would rather have you in their life than out of it. And that's usually what makes an avoidant ex come back. They've seen how much you've grown, how much you've changed, and naturally they want to be a part of that because happy people like being around happy people. And chances are they're probably not doing too well in life right now. The thing that's interesting about how anxious and avoidants deal with the breakups is anxious people will feel all of their emotions at once, and then they will gradually come down and start to feel great about their life. Whereas avoidants, when they go through the breakup, if they're the ones that dumped you, they feel great right at the beginning, and then that slowly starts to come down where those emotions start to creep up. And it's usually at that point where both the anxious and avoidants choose to reconcile if they come together again. So usually the anxious person is feeling great, the avoidant person is feeling bad. All of this creates a situation where they see you as valuable and they want to have you in their life, and having you in their life would make them feel better because they want to feel good with you. Essentially, they're experiencing FOMO, the fear of missing out. Now the question remains, now that they've come back to you, are you going to take them back? Considering all that you've overcome, all that you've learned, and all that you've healed during this time, do you really want to try and go back to that? I recommend you don't take them back so easily. It's one thing to reconcile with someone and take things slow, and it's another thing to indirectly tell them that they can come and go as they please by taking them back too soon. Essentially, take things slow and make them prove to you over time that they are willing to do the work. They are willing to work with you to have a better relationship. Keep in mind, it takes two people to make a relationship work, and unless they're willing to do that work with you, you're more than likely doomed to repeat history. You're just going to have a repeat of the exact same relationship you had last time. The best way to prevent this from happening and getting hurt again in that process is to intentionally take things slow and to be very intentional about what reconciliation looks like, what a new relationship would look like, how would that work, and how you're both willing to repair issues when they come up again in the future, rather than them just shutting down and cutting you out of the loop, emotionally speaking. So by going no contact, letting space and mystery do its thing, and leveling up in the process, you can reattract an avoidant ex, but you have to be very intentional about what that reattraction would look like when they do come back to you. If you'd like to have a one-on-one session with me to get clarification on what's been going on in your life, then go to the links in the description and book a one-on-one session with me. Also, if you're interested in learning more about what your avoidant ex is possibly feeling during no contact, then feel free to check out my video on this. I'll see you in the next video.